different of a video because we're on the GoPro again, just because it's easier and I've been crawling around under the Jeep. But if you remember the TJ with the blown apart transfer case, well, we finally started digging into it and doing our transfer case autopsy. So I went underneath and I took out the front drive shaft. And what I found was the CV joint, at the front differential, it's got a regular U joint. But at the transfer case end, it's got a CV joint. And I'll show you what I found. Hopefully it comes out well on camera. So you can see in here is the cup that ball in your CV rides on. But if I flip over to this side, you can see the cup is blown apart and the ball is all gouged up in there. Hopefully you can see that in there pretty good. So what I think happened, here's even a piece of it. What I think happened was this bound, you can see how it's all screwed up. So what I think happened is this locked up, probably on the ball, or the cup that holds the ball rotted apart or blew apart. But I think this locked up and is what caused the case to split into two, because it put tension. The tension had to go somewhere, the case gave way, split into two, which allowed this to start rotating, to continue rotating, I should say. And it actually took out the shift linkage, because the shift linkage is right next to the CV joint there. So I cut the chain off and was able to pull out the broken piece, which is right here, and you can see the broken piece spins free. There's no issue there. What's our hypothesis? Well, so with all these broken parts around, I think that the CV joint took out the transfer case, the chain came off, the CV joint is flopping around in there, causing the racket, because it's connected to the front differential, which is always spinning when the car is spinning, and that was the racket Stephen was hearing. So when he broke down and went to a shop where he broke down in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina, I said to the guys in the shop on the phone, I says, can you just take the front drive shaft out and cut the chain off, which would have made that broken chunk that I just showed you come out. I said, can he drive it? And they said no, because the internals need lubrication. So this is where I need you guys in the comments, because I'm saying that the damage is done already and that nothing is going to bind up on him if he's just driving in two-wheel drive. The whole front is disconnected. The gear for the chain and the gear for four-wheel drive is spinning free. Even if that were to lock to the shaft, it's just spinning in there. And I'm going to take you down and show you underneath while I fight with the shifter. I'll show you what I mean by that. All right, so with the chain removed and the chunk of the transfer case removed, you can see here, this is just a piece of gasket. Let me get that out of the way for you. All right, so if I turn the drive shaft, you can see the big sprocket is where the chain would ride to drive the front axle, and the small sprocket is for four-wheel drive. So now if I take and get my hand in here, and right now it's in two-wheel drive. I'm trying to do it where I don't block your sight, but not that easy. You can see I could spin the sprocket for the chain, and if you notice, I'm trying to see where my hand is, this small sprocket right here where my finger is also spins. It's locked together. This must be one piece. They're together, the big sprocket for the chain and the small sprocket. So now when the truck gets shifted into, let's see if I can shift it by hand. I gotta get a vice grip on it. On the shift right here? No, that shift lever is not connected anymore. I get the vice grip on the shift lever. I could turn it one notch. What's one notch on the shifter, Stephen?
What do you mean?
Like, is there a neutral first?
No,
goodbye.
neutral. Oh, on the four-wheel drive?
Yeah.
I'm saying goodbye.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Right now, it goes 2, 4 high, neutral, 4 low.
Okay, so now it's in 4 high. So let's see what we did for 4 high. So 4 high. Trying want to see what we did. Let me put it back in two-wheel drive. Alright, so now it's in two-wheel drive. I gotta get on the other side. Alright, so right now it's in two-wheel drive, and the big gear for the chain and the small gear are together. So now when I go to shift to four-wheel drive, that's four-wheel drive. Where was that two-wheel drive? That's two-wheel drive. Oh, it doesn't even grab that at all. So when it goes, shifts into four-wheel drive, so that pops over, you can see. I'm pulling it down, and that fork hits that little gear, and then comes back off again. And now, can I spin that? Let's see. I shouldn't be able to spin that gear with my hand. Let me get my hand in there. I can still spin the gear. How could I spin the gear? They both still spin. So this spinning, and this gear is still not spinning. So the chain is not driving. Maybe I'm really not in fourth gear. I mean, maybe I'm really not in four-wheel drive. That was two-wheel drive. Then I go to there. And then I go to there. No, that's as far as it goes. So now it should be in four low. I go there. Is the neutral. That's neutral. No. That's two-wheel drive. That's four-wheel drive. That's neutral. And why can't I go any more than that? So we're in two right now, and everything spins. So if we go into there, that's four-wheel drive. And everything still spins, which I don't understand how everything can spin. So that's two-wheel drive. That's four-wheel drive. So now it's in four-wheel drive, because you see on here, it won't let it go any farther. It won't let it go onto those other teeth. I think that it would. Huh. I think I'm in four high here, not four low. It's four low, so if I go down to here, this guy spins. Why would this guy spin? I mean, it's just spinning free. It's not connected to anything, which would not make the chain spin unless something's got to happen in that planetary gear up front. Let's see that. I don't know, but I think you could drive this thing. And now it's two-wheel drive. I think in four-wheel drive, which is right here, or is that four high? Does it sit right on that thing? Hang on. No. I wonder if it sits. Alright, so I figured it out now. I was passing four-wheel drive. So right now, it's in four-wheel drive. So that gear that rides the chain is locked because it would drive the front drive shaft, and the other gear, which is no longer there. So right now, that's locked, so nothing is spinning. There's no slipping or spinning. We're on this gear here, we're in 4 high. Now if we go to 4 low, it'll lock it also, right? So if I take my, oh, I messed you up there. So if I take my gear selector, which is a pair of vice grips right now, and I go to 2-wheel drive, which is there. Or did I go the wrong way? No, I went the wrong way. So if I go all the way up here, I'm in 2-wheel drive. So if I reach, oh, I can't reach from there. Hang on. So now in 2-wheel drive, if I reach up, I'm looking at the camera, I can't see where I am. Okay, so if I, now I could spin this. So this spins free because the front drive shaft shouldn't be connected because it's in 2-wheel drive. Then 4-wheel drive, it's locked. Neutral, it's locked. And then 4 low, it is locked again. So if I now take this and try to go to 4-wheel drive, which I always keep missing, I'm actually going into neutral, that other neutral thing. So you got to get it like, got to get right on the edge there. That went too far. It's a lot harder than it looks. Anyway, we had it there, you saw it. So now I'm in the neutral again. So in the neutral again, those gears are spinning free. And then when we go down into 4 low, you saw that fork moved over onto that gear next to the chain gear, the thin gear, and it locks in. So, you know, this transfer case is trashed anyway. So I think if we left it in 4-wheel drive, which is right there, that's 4-wheel drive, I think we could drive this thing. The problem is, will it bounce out of 4-wheel drive, because this shift linkage is so screwed up that I don't know that it'll stay in 4-wheel drive without the linkage connected, because I think the linkage kind of holds it on that thing that I can't get it on, which is right there. Yeah, it comes right off, so it needs to shift. See, this shift linkage is not supposed to have a 90-degree bend to it like it has, because then it would hold it. But in 2-wheel drive, those gears aren't, I mean, they're just going to freewheel. So my thought is that a lack of lube right now, because this would be submerged in oil, you know, might screw something up. But I don't think I could screw anything up any worse, because everything in here is shot. You know, there's shards of metal and everything. It ran with no fluid for a while. I can't see how anything would bind, and we couldn't still put power to the rear wheel. So, I mean, we know what's got to happen. That's the way it works, though. That's the inside look. Is neutral again. Weird. Okay. So now, after figuring out how it all seems to work inside the transmission and the transfer case, there's no fluid. Yes, I understand there's no fluid, but everything in there is pretty much garbage. Even if the 4-wheel drive or the chain sprocket and the 4-wheel drive sprocket fuse to the shaft going all the way to the output of the transfer case, even if they fused, they're just spinning. There's no gears anymore, as far as I can tell. It's just, you know, a shaft going. So could he theoretically have driven another 120 miles on the highway like that? That's what I'd like to know. Because while we're waiting to get another transfer case, can we just take this down off the jack stands and drive it in rear-wheel drive only with no front drive shaft, just like it is, with the transfer case split open like that, without an issue? I think we can. And I want to hear from you in the comments below. So I think, you know, I think we figured out what happened. think it's everything in the transfer case seems to be moving the way it's supposed to be moving. It took me a little while to wrap my head around about where it's supposed to be because I couldn't get it. I thought I was going into four-wheel drive, and I was actually skipping four-wheel drive, going into neutral, four high rather, because without the linkage connector, because the linkage bent, the linkage rod bent at a 90-degree angle when all the carnage happened. So I think it's pretty safe to say that the CV joint in the drive shaft bound, or it had a bind. It had a bind, and it shredded the case when it bound, and then it's flopping around in there, and it took out the linkage from flopping around in there because it rides real close to the linkage. So once it started flopping around, it took out the linkage. So I think that's the culprit. And we did have a little low speed vibration that we could never really figure out. The CV joint looked good, but that seems to be what it is, because that's the CV joint is blown apart. You saw in the video. I mean, the best I could get it for you. So we got to get another transfer case. In the meantime, I think we could drive this thing. I think if I tie up this wiring harness that's hanging around, I bet we could drive it in two-wheel drive. It's not like it's going to be on the parkway for an hour. It's just a little local around town driving. I bet Amanda could drive this, zipping around, until we find a transfer case that we could swap back in here. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and the autopsy of the blown apart TGA transfer case. As always, thanks for watching.